You're a dude. You're the guy. You're going home.
You're that man.
Guess what you get to do? Huh? You get to help a veteran in need, my friend. Let's do this.
What is cannabis doing for you?
Put some dog tags together, man.
All right, guys, listen, welcome back to PV Unfiltered. I'm sitting here pretty excited, actually, with Graham Bloom. We've got some personal stories that probably are going to make me cry. They have before. But Graham is the founder of Shelter to Soldier. And on the right of me is my son, Cody, co-owner of Platinum Vape. So let's get started and get a little update and introduction to Graham, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes.
Love it. What's happening, guys?
Oh.
So, pleasure to be here. Love how the relationship has formed between us. Just a little background on our program and our mission. We are 8 years young, and at Shelter to Soldier, our mission is saving lives 2 at a time. What we're doing is we're going to local shelters and humane societies and rescue partners of ours all throughout Southern California. And we're looking for dogs that are homeless, that are bored and need a job. And there's sadly too many of them out there. And we evaluate dogs ages 5 months to about 1.5 years that clearly have a desire to work and have a job. And
When did you start this?
8 years ago. So it was October 2012. It was an idea for quite some time, and between the canine euthanasia and the veterans struggling, coming back, from these war-torn countries and war zones, it was just time to do something. And private service dogs are incredibly expensive. I just hated seeing the defeat on people's faces when you give them the price tag or the invoice, and so it was time for us to do something about it. So again, it's 2 parts. We're adopting dogs. They're homeless, and who knows what their future looks like if they even have one.
Yeah.
And then we're able to train these dogs as specially trained service dogs and place them with veterans at no charge. So now we're really taking care of those that have served and provided us the freedoms to sit here and chat and have this conversation today.
It's insane.
Yeah.
I mean, how many dogs do you think in this 8 years you've saved?
We've adopted and rescued a little over 60. Okay. And so when you look at numbers, there's rescues doing 60 or 80 a month.
Yeah.
They've saved thousands.
Yeah.
Difference being that the dogs in our program, of course, they have to have a special temperament and the ability to become a working service dog. Right. These are dogs that might not have, in many cases, would not have fared well in a pet home, so they would have been returned.
But it's all shapes and sizes, huh? There's no certain dog you go out to look for. I mean, there's no certain breed, no nothing that you're like, oh, that's exactly what we're looking for.
Yeah, thankfully, there's no breed restrictions for us. So, we can get into the first dog you guys sponsored, and let's talk about breeds and no shapes or sizes. I mean, he doesn't fit in any box, man.
I mean, the position that he was in, as far as the way he looked and the way that he smelled and everything else, I mean, he didn't stand a chance in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you look at, it's funny because people, I've seen over the years, 20 years I've been doing this in the industry of rescue, dog training, animal behavior, just the animal and pet industry as a whole. And when you go past a dog kennel at a shelter and you kind of see a dog that looks raggedy and not well kept, and his eye was swollen shut because he had entropion, and you look at the price tag of what the surgery will cost, there's 80 other dogs at that shelter that day that were, quote, more desirable for someone that had less baggage.
Yeah.
And so, you have to kind of peel back the layers and be willing to look at the other pieces. And that's what we're looking at.
Well, I think when you're talking about like the numbers and you say, 60 over a period of 8 years for yourself and 60 for other, people that are rescue a month, or however you want to look at that. I mean, there's a meaning to that. When the people that are doing the 60 a month and going through that process, it's a completely different process that allows much more to go through their facility versus you, which is concentrating on another dynamic of rescuing, and that's having a partnership with somebody, and the training process is so much more involved versus just finding a home. So I think there's
absolutely.
I don't want to get lost in the fact that in 8 years we've done 60 dogs. It's incredible when you look at the dynamic of
It's also
what
60
it's taken.
veterans that have been helped as well.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's true.
Exactly. Yeah, when you're looking at it, you're right. When you look at it from the whole perspective, our dogs aren't coming in as strays and 5 days later finding a home. They're with us for a year and a half to get that specialized training and to be able to transfer as a working dog. And has
it been an idea in your head at all to have your own shelter as well?
No, we haven't.
And do like that whole program as well, kind of running side by side?
No, we haven't. We haven't really discussed or thought about doing a shelter, just because there's so many resources out there doing it already that we've just partnered with those organizations that are doing great work there, so we could focus on our specialty. We did, prior to launching Shelter to Soldier, discuss, should we open another rescue?
Right.
And not that there's enough, there's still a need for more, but we wanted to make sure that we were utilizing my 2 decades of training and behavior experience and service dog experience and our training team's experience to make an impact somewhere where there isn't a big impact being made.
Yeah.
I think that's relative on our part, as far as extraction versus just sourcing. It's kind of the, in the cannabis side of it, a lot of people are no longer extracting their own oil. They're sourcing, because there's specialty sourcing companies that are, the extraction companies that you can source from, and they can do it a lot less than your normal, and you don't have that exposure with all the equipment and the team behind, to do that. So that's kind of my little spin on how we're relative on that end.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think any of us can look at so many different ways to help, but you got to pick a lane. Yeah. And even if it's a few lanes, if the lines get too blurred, then we're doing an okay job at 20 things instead of a really great job at 1, 2, or 3 things.
You're now a handyman.
Yeah. And we want to maintain that focus on where's the biggest need. Psychiatric service dogs, they're expensive. They're not funded by government agencies at this point in time. And so the private nonprofits like Shelter to Soldier step up and come into play and find partnerships and sponsors like React Foundation and Platinum Vapes that are willing to get behind.
What is a typical, service, like what you're doing? If you were to go anywhere else, what does that cost someone?
So the average cost in the for-profit side, and even through a lot of nonprofits at their cost levels, is $25,000 to $30,000 per dog. Jeez. And that's at that psychiatric service. Mobility dogs can start at $30,000, seeing eye dogs $60,000 to $100,000.
That's just crazy.
Right? So, and we don't do seeing eye, but still. So if you're looking at,
how do people afford that? That's insane.
They do crowdfunding, they borrow money from the bank, they ask friends and family, and
but you're
in
also
rare
talking
cases,
about
people have the money.
It sucks to say, but the lifespan too.
I know.
You're going to need 2 or 3 of those in your life, or possibly even more.
Yeah, no, there is that factor of investment. Dogs not only sadly don't live long enough, but their working life is even shorter than their entire life.
Yeah.
And so you do have to weigh that. And we just got, personally, we got tired of, and I got tired of seeing people get this little glimmer of hope. You'd see like the twinkle in the eye of, oh my gosh, you train service dogs, you can help me. And then you sort of slide across the invoice of what it's going to cost. One more door closed.
Yeah.
One more hope shattered. And so Shelter to Soldier had to exist. It wasn't a matter of just want and to do something special. It's necessary. Right. This service and this program is necessary, and it is saving and changing lives.
Well, and at Shelter to Soldier, it's one of those things that, a person like yourself that could have, made this a huge for-profit and could have made this, something that is so much more different than what you're doing now. What you're doing now is selfless. It's giving the opportunity to people that wouldn't be there, but more so too, or equally, giving the opportunity to an animal, to a dog that potentially is going to be euthanized and the fact that you're not looking for a specific breed when you talk about a lot of the other care and the other dogs that are used in these things where you have to have, they typically want, a German Shepherd or,
Sure.
whatever it is. I'm not too familiar on that part, but to be able to walk into a shelter and pick somebody out like Eddie and go, oh yeah, this guy. And not only that, then to go, he's a hypoallergenic dog. Like qualifies for this. It's just, when you look at that, you would never guess that dog would be hypoallergenic. You'd be like the opposite, the way his hair is and, the whole thing. So it's really cool. And especially for us, it was really amazing to be able to be a part of that. That day was super amazing for us.
Yeah.
And, because we are dog people here.
Definitely.
And at that time for me, it was tough because of my process and things that were going on in my life with my dogs. And yeah, it was amazing to go through that process and watch you work with dogs and how you would assess them. And randomly, and we know this, there was another dog that was sitting there, and I'm sure he got picked up. I mean, he was a beautiful dog and fun. Somehow this straggly dog was like, let's just look at him one time. And here he came. And it was like, even with, like you said, with the problems that were there, it almost was like it was meant to be across the board. And he took hold and you took hold, and it was like, now we've had some visits and we've done some other things with them, and it's amazing to sit and watch, and super exciting to watch what's going to happen in his life, and then go from that side of it, and it is kind of funny how everything comes full circle, because a friend of ours that is a military vet called up. I think he called you, right?
Yeah.
And Shane Crutchinson.
Have you talked to him about it yet?
I haven't talked to him.
Oh. Yeah, Shane Crutchinson called me and said, hey, you're working with Shelter the Soldier. I said, yeah, how do you know about that? He's like, well, I'm actually in line to get a dog, or going through my application to get a dog. I'm like, okay, I'll reach out to him, and ended up, you're here today. But
that's amazing.
So Shane he's a military vet, and he's also an MMA fighter that we sponsored.
Oh, right on.
Yeah. So he was in the Bellator, and I think he still is, but he's doing a lot of I think it's called freedom fighting. So he's been overseas. Continuing that whole thing.
Okay.
He's very involved in like the veteran world.
Yeah.
Very.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would have to kind of reference the application, to be honest, but I'll take a look. And
how many applications are you getting? Like now over this time, like are you getting backed up with them? Is it?
Yeah, we have a wait list, but our Veteran Services Department, one of our graduates, Vic Martin, who graduated the program, has a service dog, runs our Veteran Services Department, and takes those applications as they come in. And we kind of have different levels. Like an inquiry is the first level of a questionnaire being filled out online, and we can receive as many as up to 20 a week. And on a slow week, maybe half that.
So it's almost like the dogs, where it's like it's hard to turn people away, just like walking through a place and saying, no, that dog isn't going to cut it.
Yeah, you have certain qualifications. Like you have to vet each applicant, and they have to meet criteria that matches our program needs, and they have to be able to commit a certain amount of time. But as long as they meet the criteria that we have, and they get approved for the program, we can help them. It just means there might be a wait period where they have to wait to match with a dog, because there's more dogs that need help and more veterans that need help than we can keep up with.
Right.
But we're growing. Our first year, the first dog lived at my house. My wife and I had that dog at our home. That was kind of how we kicked things off, and there's parallels there with your guys' story too, where you guys shared with me a little bit of where you started.
Yeah.
And then we subleased space from a kennel, and we were able to keep 4 dogs. And then we moved to another kennel, and we subleased space, and we could keep 8. Now, in less than 2 years, we went from 8 or 9 dogs to 25.
So going through that, this is really kind of, it's a question on mine, and really for everybody to understand, when you're going through that process, the biggest thing is that you're doing this out of your heart. Like this isn't like big money. This isn't like, oh my God, I'm going to be doing this many dogs and making all this money. Like this is, I think it's important for people to understand, like you're running dogs through your house to help. And that's hard on you as well, because I know how quick I get attached to a dog.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
so,
it is.
you go through this process. So I think it's important to understand that that is one of the bigger things in this for Shelter to Soldier, is that this started as a family and is still a family, but is ground up like with your heart behind it.
Yeah, this is definitely, people call them passion projects. We led with our hearts. We have a for-profit dog training company, and that's where, we make a living and sustain and support our families. And we have a team behind us that, yes, it started with us too, and it was something that it takes a lot of selflessness, and I think everyone in the nonprofit world has it. And then you meet people like you guys, that are in the for-profit that want to help give back to nonprofits that need the support. But now our team too, like we've got construction going on right now. We're repairing some things at the facility. And the solution from the team was, well, shoot, we're not going to have 17 spaces that we usually have. What are we going to do? And people start raising their hands. They're like, I'll take a dog. I'll take a dog. Now there's dogs living, fostering at our trainers' homes and our caregivers' homes without question. The entire,
I'll take a dog.
Yeah, there you go. Bingo.
I don't have a dog anymore.
It's,
so
the entire mentality behind this mission has started with giving of ourselves and our time. And it's been followed by hundreds and thousands of people that are like, me too. Let me jump in and give of my time and my resources. And so it's infectious. If we can all give a little bit every day.
Right.
And I always tell everyone, whether it's picking up something that falls on the ground for someone, holding a door open, this is just a bigger piece, right?
Right.
It's a bigger scope, and it's a service and something that's necessary. So at the end of the day, I just feel like if we have the resources and capability and skill set to be able to know how to adopt and rescue these dogs and how to train them or prepare them to help veterans, why don't we do it? And we do. We're 8 years in. We've got a lot of growth and more to accomplish, but I'm proud of where we are. And our family, our village, you guys included, are a part of all of that. And I can't wait. I mean, this next 8 to 10 months this year, it's going to be incredible. Some big things are coming.
You see the grow coming faster and faster each year, huh? Like how
Absolutely.
fast
When you look at 4 dogs in training and a lineup of 20 veterans, it's like, what can I do? What can I do? But now we've got 25 dogs. I just met with a contractor yesterday and a foundation that we're working to get help from. And I just pitched them to turn some of my outdoor kennel runs into indoor, literally build them indoor. And I'm like, I can make, in a matter of a week, with a group of good people and a little bit of money, we can house at least another 20 dogs here and take this from 25 to 45 by the end of the year, but maybe even by summer. And so that's just where we're at.
Crazy?
Like, we are wanting to double our capacity.
So before we keep
ASAP.
going on to that, I kind of want to rewind. What happened before the 8 years? Where'd you come from? Where did the passion for dogs
wait, do we
come
want to know that? Is that something?
Oh, yeah.
Well, see, I was in prison for 27 years.
No, I just want to know.
By way of-
obviously, you had a passion for dogs.
Yeah.
You don't get in, or animals in that matter.
No, I appreciate that. It's a unique story. I'll give you guys kind of the elevator version, because we could probably podcast for 3 or 4 days to attempt to tell my long story. But I was born in Johannesburg, South Africa. And so a long ways away. My family's from there for generations. And beautiful place, beautiful country, beautiful people. But we were there at a time where there was a lot of turmoil. And my parents, their main goal was to provide a safe upbringing with opportunity for their children. And so they decided to move and get us out of a country that was in turmoil. And
They call it sacrifice.
and they sacrificed for us. And you know what they did? They looked at a map and they literally picked the safest place on the planet, and it ended up being Toronto, Canada. They're like, bingo, where can you leave your door open and not have to worry at night? And we were outside of the city, and we lived in the suburbs, and I grew up in Canada for a big
How old were
chunk
you
of
when you
my
moved
life.
over?
So I was 6, and then I spent about 13 years or so in Canada. And then I moved to the States, and at one point I had 3 citizenships. I was
honestly
South
just
African,
gonna ask that
Canadian,
because
and American.
We go back and forth with my wife about this stuff. About
Yeah.
her mom is what she calls Greek,
Okay.
but she was born in Chicago.
Yeah.
So her grandparents were born in Greece and stuff. So we always laugh because, you know, she likes to claim that she's Greek.
Yeah.
But has nothing really to
Is she
do.
Greek?
So,
Yeah,
so I actually was like born in South Africa, South African citizen, generations there. And then I went to Canada, and we spent enough time there. And we were passionate about the country and very patriotic about where we lived that we became citizens. And so now I'm a Canadian citizen. And then we moved to the States. And, you know, I tell people I'm not a born patriot. So Shelter to Soldier helping United States veterans, people are like, what? But for me, I became patriotic through experience and meeting some of my best friends that have served and hearing the sacrifice that they've been through. And I was like, how could I not become now more patriotic and grateful for the opportunities to be able to live here?
Right.
And, you know, I love being in California. And so when I became an American citizen and you know, I'm a permanent resident here, I had to give up one of those. And so I let go of South African, but it's always going to be a part of me.
That's crazy.
And, you know, it's never going to be something that I don't have in my roots and, you know, friends, family, the connections. I mean, I was just at Rugby Sevens this weekend cheering South Africa on. If I'm watching hockey, I'm cheering on Canada. And if I'm watching NFL, I'm cheering on my local teams. So, you know, it's important to me. And the joke is on me because I worked so hard when I got to Canada to get rid of my accent. And because it's not cool when you're little.
I mean, you don't have an accent to me at all.
When you're a redhead and you have a South African accent and you're new in school, like you've got to learn to buck up, because if you don't,
you're Lucky Charms.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, are you Irish? And so for me, I worked every night. I would go home and I would practice my A's. I kid you not. And I worked to get rid of my accent.
Could you still go back to it a little bit?
Absolutely. And if I did, I'd probably have a TV show, you know? So,
or at least a podcast.
Yeah. That's an idea. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if I just go back about, you know,
there you are,
35 years or so, I could be back in South Africa and no problems. Yeah. And you know, of course, then we get out the hockey stick and go play on the pond, eh?
Yeah.
So for me, my story is kind of, you know, a little crazy. 2 continents, 3 countries, and almost 20 cities. But what was a commonality at every single stop in my life was animals. It always came back to playing with my dog, cuddling with my cat, taking my dog on a walk when I was having a tough day in high school. Dogs have been the center point of my life to keep me centered and focused, even through the toughest of times that I had, which I had quite a bumpy road in my high school time. I was, you know, I was mad at my parents, or I was mad at whatever, mad at life, but I would go home to make sure my dog got out to go to the bathroom and get exercise. I'd throw my rollerblades on and make sure.
Who was that dog?
That was Kaylee, German Shepherd. Oh. And she allowed me to stay at least somewhat grounded in those moments, right? Because when you move a lot, it's challenging. So, and then I think for me, I didn't serve, so there's certain things I don't get. And I can't say I get it or understand what you've been through to someone that has served.
You're not, I mean, by all means, you're not claiming that either.
No,
you're never.
But the one commonality that I do get is being shifted and moved around a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and so I think it's important to be able to have those
adapting
things.
to change.
Yeah, adapting to change. And, you know, you guys, we've talked about many times how, you know, we're dog lovers. That was something we had in common immediately when I first met you. And so I think it's neat to be able to have those commonalities and be able to, you know, have those relationships and conversations flourish. But that's my story.
But I mean, leading
by
up
way
to
of
this,
South Africa.
I mean, there's obviously a piece like what'd you do for a career before this? You know, did you go to college? Were you wandering around? I mean, what?
Yeah, I didn't fare super well in high school, and so I wasn't destined for that Ivy League life, to put it lightly. And so,
what side do you claim on that?
Yeah.
Is that the U.S. side?
Yeah, U.S. side. I was in Northern California going to high school, and I think you can call it going to high school. And
I did the same thing.
Yeah, and for me, I just needed to find something that I was passionate about. So I tried community college. Tried to push through it, couldn't do it. And then I found trade school. And I found a school that studied dog behavior and dog training, and I can get a certificate.
You went in that early?
As a dog trainer. So I was 19 or 20. When I started, in this career, in this field, I was an animal care technician at a local shelter, and I was scooping poop and caring for dogs while going to school, earning minimum wage. I had other jobs to make ends meet. I did other things to be able to pay the bills. I had my first child. My eldest now is 18 at 21 while I was trying to pop a career up in dog training. So
we got a lot in common.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was 22.
Okay.
This guy.
Yeah. Well, I figured you were younger because, there's the space gap.
I mean, I look a lot younger than you do.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Well, maybe my storm was a little heavier than yours. All right. maybe you had a better umbrella. I'm not sure. But yeah, the gray hairs are coming thick and through the beard nowadays. So I didn't go to college. I did trade school. I found the passion in dog training and in the animal rescue world. And I just dug in, blood, sweat, and tears, and hard work. And I volunteered a lot along the way. There's a couple of famous stories. I helped two dogs that came back from Iraq, and then another 9 of them, and trained these dogs from war zone rescues, and helped these Marines out. And that's a lot of where this passion came from. It's like hearing what they went through to save these dogs, and like, you can do that. I need to work harder. Yeah, I need to do more to help.
Yeah, those stories are when you see and hear these stories of what a soldier does to save a dog in Iraq. It's
they treat it just like any member of their team.
Oh, absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and that's probably its own podcast, because there's some great stories that of dogs that we've helped rehabilitate and work with and train from overseas that were stray street dogs from other countries, let alone here in our backyard.
Right.
But there's a lot that went into this, and I think my wife and I, Kyrie and I, and then our co-founder Chris.
So your wife is actually part of all of this.
Yeah, she helped found the program. She does a ton of the background, where she does stuff that people don't see her face, so it's not like me who's out in the public and in the news and chatting about it. But you guys know it takes so many different facets and people.
Oh, and she has to deal with you.
And she has to deal with me.
I mean, we all got that one behind us that's like,
the
puppeteer.
Yeah, I feel bad for her some days. But
and they never get enough credit.
No, and that's the key, right? But no one in this organization is doing anything for credit, but it's still important to get that pat on the back. So
yeah.
And how old are you right now?
I'm turning 40 this year. I'm 39.
Damn.
So 32. Yeah. So you did dog training for about 10, 12 years before you even got into this side of things.
Yeah, it's 20 years now, just about. But I was training locally in San Diego for
When did you open your own training facility?
I had my own many years ago in North County, San Diego, and ran that for about 7 or 8 years. I lost my buddy, one of my best friends who worked for me as a dog trainer, to suicide.
Oh, wow.
Which is another catalyst to Shelter to Soldier. And it was just kind of me and him on the road every day. And so when he passed, I needed to take a little breather. And so I closed that company down, because when you're a sole proprietor and you decide to take a breather, it doesn't really work. It's kind of game over.
You are the company.
Yeah, and I was the company, and without him, right? And so I then worked for another local company for some years, and then I decided I needed to go back out on my own, because I wanted to just get back into making an impact and a bigger difference than I felt like I was making.
And what is that facility now?
Our for-profit?
Yeah.
So we're specialty dog training.
Okay.
And we're based out of Oceanside, and we are still our largest donor to date for our charity. We donate space, staffing, time. We discount services by 75, 80% to the charity. And so we're consistently donating between $15,000 and $25,000 a month in kind space.
You mean off your
staffing.
nonprofit, you're not making millions?
Yeah, right.
Come on.
No, we're donating it all back in, and I'll be honest. At some point, we've got to do well, right? My family's got to make.
What do you mean?
Money.
You got to make money?
And so yeah,
you wait.
Yeah,
you have bills.
Yeah,
and they got to be paid.
We've got bills to pay. And we're not, we do, the company's doing well, and we do all right for sure, but it's going to be cool to see Shelter to Soldier stand on its own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And we're pushing towards that so that it can. And Right now, while it still needs support, our company's there to support it, and why not? Just like you guys.
That kind of segues us into probably the longer part of this conversation.
Yeah,
is Platinum Vape, the React Foundation, partnering with Shelter to Soldier, and what an amazing thing, on our part to be able to be a part of what you guys and your team are doing, and
also with kind of arms wide open, no like holding back or anything,
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was going to go too. Is the tough thing on the cannabis side is, as surprising as it is, we have the React Foundation, which is our charity, and to many different organizations, and a lot of these, they touch us in so many ways, but other people, it allows people to go to stores and purchase a React cartridge that they feel comfortable donating to, and we give a portion of that to that specific organization.
Right.
And so when and I think it was Janet that got us involved with Shelter to Soldier.
Janet or Shane?
Yeah, I can't remember, Shane or Janet, but
I think it was both.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it started with Janet and then pushed to Shane. And then, so we have this day where you come into the office.
Yeah.
And first of all, it's like I was beginning to say, and Cody was talking about, was the fact that it's tough to donate, as ironic it is, to donate money from a cannabis company.
Yeah.
And
you guys
so
shared those challenges.
And so, to have a corporation to have a company like yours that comes on board and says, hey, I'm going to make this commitment, regardless of my media that I have out there and the sponsors, like, we're willing to take this on, which is huge for us. And it's kind of weird to talk about it like that. Like, hey, it's so great for us to be able to give and you to be able to accept giving, but we've seen this quite a bit.
Oh yeah. There's been charities where they're like, oh, we're not going to mention your name. You're not going to be part of anything, but we'll take your money.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that's cool.
It's like I told you guys. First off, I'll never forget the day we first met.
Oh, I won't either.
And
I was crying like a baby.
Yeah, it's and I have meaningful meetings all the time, so it's not to take away from any other meetings I've had, but
just tell me people cried harder than I did.
It's happened for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I've brought like paper towel rolls, the quicker picker upper. Is that free ad space? Sorry. But
I knew something was going to come in at some point.
I got to come in at some point.
But yeah, the reality was I could see when I was sharing what we do. You guys knew a little bit, but when I started sharing the deep foundation of what Shelter to Soldier was, the captive attention and then the emotional piece, like I could see you guys, your eyes were welling up. And you were connected to the conversation and you cared. And so for me, it started there. Like, yes, it's a cannabis company, but I wanted to sit down with you just like you wanted to sit down with me, and we're getting to know each other. Well, who are the people behind it? Yeah. And what is your goal and what is your mission and how do you want to help? And it wasn't about sticking your name or label. You mentioned other people not wanting to mention it, but for you guys, it's nice to be able to share that you're giving, but that wasn't your sole purpose. It was, we believe in what you're doing. We love dogs. We absolutely believe in helping our veterans and those that have served, and we need to get behind your program. And how do we do it? And then,
but not only get behind, partner up.
Yeah,
right.
Good call. And then I start sharing numbers with you on how much this costs and how much this costs. And then you reversed the crying and handed the tear bucket over to me, because then you guys start talking about how much you're going to give and donate. And I mean, I was thinking, hey, let's kick off this relationship. You're talking about like royalties, basically. A percent of proceeds from every one of your cartridges is coming back to charity, not to you, and you're giving. And I was like, this is going to be really cool if we can get 50 cents a cartridge. And I'm doing the numbers, and I'm like, man, it'd be cool to get $2,500 or, and that's still a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
And then I share with these two opportunities, and these two guys, Platinum and React, are like, well, React's going to start out, and we're going to start out a $40,000 contribution. Well, I mean, the impact, yes, that's technically 2 dogs and a sponsorship, but but it goes so much further than that.
Yeah.
The leap of faith on the cannabis side, guys, you're running a good business. It's legal in California. Yeah. We've worked with, I don't know how many breweries, wine companies. We've worked with 2 different vodka companies. We work with local casinos that are great friends and partners of ours. You're running a legitimate legal business, and you're helping people, mind you, on the medical side for sure. And then we segue into, and we want to give back to our community. For me, it was why not?
Yeah.
You didn't need to convince me why. And I hope that continues to change for you in the positive. I hope you find more partners.
Think this right here and this, the whole premise of why we have the PV Unfiltered isn't about Platinum Vape. And as we go along more and more episodes, people will get the gist of what it is that we're trying to accomplish. And that's really getting into what is cannabis doing for you. And I mean that in anybody that sits at this table, including ourselves, not like, I'm smoking this and I'm doing this. It's like, what is it doing for you? And it could be just like what we're talking about now, where we partner with a foundation that we're passionate about amongst all the other things as well, but to be able to partner with a foundation that is now kind of set a little branch out on the cannabis level, and to have you comfortably out talking about us as a partnership is super important for us, because that allows other people, as you fan out into your community and the things that you do, it allows us to continue to give not only to you.
Puts a good taste in your mouth,
Yeah.
for this industry. And now you can answer that question in a different way. What is cannabis doing for you? It's not like, I smoked a blunt yesterday.
Yeah.
It's, hey, I partnered up with a cannabis company that has actually helped 2 dogs and 2 veterans, and it brings a different light to the cannabis world.
Well, and even bigger, right? Like you guys are we've got our inaugural golf tournament coming up.
Yeah, we do.
And
don't hold that against us either.
Yeah. and there will be no judgment that day.
There can't be.
That's actually our home field.
But nice.
We play there all the time.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, usually every weekend.
But React Foundation being our presenting sponsor.
Wait a second. Wait. Let's be clear. When he says we, that's him and his buddies.
Oh.
Okay, I don't play there every weekend, and you will see that. So I want to be clear that what you see on the course with me is not the product of every weekend golfing out there.
We're going to have the drone following you.
No, that's fine. I don't care. It might get hit out of the sky. But also understand this. When you see him play, then you can say, okay, that's what you get out of golfing every weekend. So, yes.
I'm very good at drinking.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that one.
And I look back, and the reason why I bring up the golf tournament is because you guys, as presenting sponsor, it's a $25,000 contribution, but it's allowing us to raise between $100,000 and $150,000 plus awareness that comes from the tournament, the press that follows it, the post press, the success, the partnerships. And so the impact isn't just another dog. It's huge.
Yeah.
And we're proud to have you guys partner. Again,
well, we like to use that term because, kind of another little segue is a company HVGC that we partnered up with through this whole React Foundation.
Yeah.
And now we, they have a cart releasing under our name.
Okay.
They're not under our name, but under our company. They're actually in our office now, working out of our office. We kind of dive in with these charities and we become part of, what we do as a team. It's not just like, here's some money.
Yeah, do.
They were on a podcast with us, actually, the last one. And
that'll be out Monday, right, Tommy? Monday or Tuesday?
Yeah, it's going to be released Monday. Every Mondays.
That's cool.
That one's going to get you.
It's Hellman Valley Growers Company. And, now they have a product that we went, combined efforts, and they're out selling. And, they're literally working out of our office now.
That's crazy. I love that.
So
and you guys are investing, I know we've seen Tommy with the cameras and spending time doing high quality video that then becomes marketing material. And then you've got marketing material that's benefiting us too. So it is a partnership and it's a two-way street. And, I can't thank you guys enough. And we're proud to partner up. And it's just because we secure partnership with a local brewery doesn't mean, good, bad, or ugly. At the end of the day, if there's local companies doing good business and helping the community,
You can't.
And saving lives, we're in.
And I think just a little step back is it's important for people to understand that just because you partner with a cannabis company doesn't mean that you use cannabis. And,
right.
and that's the downside, I think, for non-cannabis related people partnering with cannabis is that they're afraid that the assumption is there, like, oh, I use cannabis every day, whatever. I don't care on that part of it. To each their own, but that assumption is starting to go away more on the lines of like, you know what, I partnered with a cannabis company, and that's what's happening.
And I'm not sitting smoking. Yeah, I'm not sitting smoking all day every day, but I'm gladly receiving the donation funds to make a difference in the world. And you're right. There's so many ways that I can see the positive benefits, and that's why we decided to partner up and make this a special relationship, because you guys are so willing to make a difference, and why not? And
I'm going to cut you off because it's important to go back to that day and that table, because once again, we can go on forever, and a lot of times we will, and this won't be the last podcast that we have.
Right on.
I can guarantee that. But that day, and not that it mattered so much, it was almost like things line up in a way, because we talked about the history of my 4 dogs in that period of a month and a half.
Yeah.
And while we were sitting there and discussing this, it caught me totally off guard, because I didn't know much about Shelter to Soldier. We took this meeting. I can say we didn't know a whole lot, but we don't take these lightly. And so when we started getting into this, with me at that time, especially because my dog Eddie was literally sitting in my office, was dying of cancer at that time. Little did I know that I only had a couple more days with him, but that was a tough one, because it was immediate to me how important that was. It would have still been important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but the fact of the matter is that it all clicked. And when I looked across the table at Cody and these type of things, we usually, and I've said this before, we usually take our time, and there's never a decision that's been made at that table. And I can tell you there's 2 that have been made, and it was Shelter to Soldier. And at that time,
wow.
We understood immediately, and you saw it, because we didn't have any behind the scenes. We weren't texting each other or anything like that.
No, it was in the moment.
That decision was made immediately of what we wanted to do. We knew, just looking at each other, we knew where we were going with this. So there was a lot of things that were in play there that were new for me and for Cody.
Yeah.
And we knew at that point in time that this was, this is what we are doing this for. And
no, it was very raw and organic. I could tell it was in the moment, and it was just like, your guys' hearts busted out of your chests, and you're like, what can we do to help? But
even from there, the follow through.
Yeah.
The fact that you actually came back, you said, hey, let's go look for a dog. And you actually stuck to that. We went and looked for a dog, and we found a dog.
Yeah.
And
that was a special day too.
Cool.
And then
more memories.
Yeah. And then after that, even though it was my own personal moment, which was probably a lot more tears, was when, we got the dog that day, and Eddie came over to the office with you, and he got a bath and whatnot. But then later on that afternoon, I believe it was that afternoon or the next day, is when I got the text from the guys here that were like, hey, how do you feel about us naming the dog Eddie?
Yeah.
And that was my own moment there, because that was a tough one.
Don't get me going on this podcast.
No, I know.
Man.
Shit. It's a tough one. And so, that for us, for Cody and I, it really solidifies the reason that we do these things, and you have that, and we have it in other parts of what we're doing, in each aspect of React. And so it's so great for us, to be able to do that. And the second time that we ever did this was with HVGC, and
they have a crazy story, and
there wasn't any crying. like, because we have the veteran support side of the React Foundation, it was instant on that. And we've had others, don't get me wrong, but never has there been 2 decisions made like right then. You know what I mean? Like that was. And
I've heard a little bit of their story, and it hits home for sure. And I can completely understand.
Yeah, that podcast is going to be another one, and these are going to be like probably I mean, I hope that 10 years down the road, we're just like these podcasts they're still going to be ringing out there.
That's cool.
I mean, even though you have to listen to us talk and whatever, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I appreciate, again, everything you guys have done, and not just with Shelter to Soldier, but all the community partners you have. You're taking a product people are buying anyways, but you're creating an impact through it, and good for you.
And I think that's, for us, it's important, there's a tough side to cannabis, because just like what we kind of touched on is the fact that when you're doing a nonprofit, you're doing good, but then you have this weird feeling. For us, we have this weird feeling where we donate, and we want people to know that it's coming from the React Foundation, and it's this circle that needs to happen.
Yeah,
the synergy needs to take place. We're not doing it for a pat on the back or for somebody to go, oh, that's great. We're doing it because the way that we promote this, and by people understanding that Platinum Vape is React, and React is supporting these foundations, is we have to promote it that way. So when a company comes to us,
you want to show the proof, that it's done, because I mean, my biggest thing with charities is you never know what's actually being done.
Yeah.
That I've always been the one that, you're buying dog food and it's like, oh, you want to donate an extra $1? And it's like, yeah, you're doing that. But then you wonder in the back of your head, like, is that actually making it there?
Sure.
And it sucks to have that, wonder or think that way. But I think a lot of people are probably guilty of that.
Yeah, it's important to know, there's lots of ways to dig into a charity, and nonprofits, your financials are public record and all of those things. So there's a lot of transparency,
right.
But for you guys to be able to actually see that the proof in the pudding, to actually go to the shelter and to live it, makes it even more real than looking at figures on a website or hearing from someone else that it's real. So you guys living it makes it,
get that across to the public too. And, with having the stigma of cannabis, like, okay, they're probably just pocketing that money and not doing anything good with it. I tell you what, one thing that we would never want to come of this, and I truly in my heart don't believe is don't punish a charity for working with a cannabis company that's running a good business, that's giving back to help others in need. In this case, 4-legged and 2-legged.
Yeah.
And so for Shelter to Soldier, we're blossoming, we're growing new partnerships. This partnership shouldn't have any ill effect on anything else we're doing. It's just another local business doing good. And hey, keep it up. Keep doing good. Keep reaching out and touching people, because you guys so far, I mean, you literally directly impacted and helped save Eddie.
Yeah. And with Eddie, I want to kind of go into the current, where's Eddie at right now? What's his process? What's the time frame on that, and kind of how does that run side by side with what you do at Shelter to Soldier? What is the whole process of Shelter to Soldier? You get a dog, but obviously that's the very beginning.
Yeah. Then you give him a bath.
You haven't even started. Yeah.
Let's start there.
No, you don't give him a bath. You give him many baths.
Yeah.
Eddie.
Oh, stinky.
Yeah.
It's a process. The dog training takes on average 9 to 12 months on the dog training side. We do an evaluation the day of. You guys were there to experience that, and you saw the assessment evaluation of what makes a dog a good fit for the program. Once they're in the program, we have to do a secondary evaluation period, which is 90 days. That 90-day process allows us to understand if that dog's going to continue on as a service dog or do what's called a career change and need to become an emotional support dog or a pet. Following the 90-day check mark, yes, they continue on through the service dog program. Once they have all their advanced obedience, community obedience, and their foundation core task work commands, then they start meeting approved applicants. Applicants have to come through and apply and go through an approval process. And once they're approved, they start speed dating. Literally, they're dating dogs that are ready to meet.
So do you have multiple dogs there that they go through and meet, or is it kind of just when one's ready, you have multiple veterans that come through?
I think that's what sets us apart, or I know in some cases that's what sets Shelter to Soldier apart. It's not dog number 5, Eddie is ready to meet applicant X.
Yeah.
And you have to take this dog. It's very organic. And so we have our veterans meet multiple dogs that we believe would be a good match based on lifestyle need. Maybe they've got a breed that they don't want because of a life experience. Maybe that, they shed too much or whatever. Right. So we have them meet based on needs and desires, and it's very organic. And when the matches happen, we just did a cool episode on matching and the magic behind it, and we'll want to do a follow-up on that for sure. But when the matches happen, sometimes they're like these instant, you just know, and you still have to. We have
kind of like Shelter to Soldier and React.
That's it. It was one of those things, right? Sometimes it happens like that where they just get it, and you still make them date a couple times to make sure it's the real deal. Don't put on a ring on it too quick, but.
Maybe cut back the cologne a little bit. Yeah, and see how it goes.
But at the end of the day, some of them you can just see, like the magic happens in front of you, and some of them take a little bit of work. But at the end of the day, we're matching dogs that really, truly are a good fit for these individuals. And at that point, after matching, so we're talking 9 to 12 months of training on average, and then the matching, the veteran handlers go through an average of 6 months of handling training. So it's a huge commitment.
That's a good amount of time.
It is, and it's not just
about
spending
the night at their house and stuff. Are they
not until the end, closer to the end of the program? Sometimes they'll do like a weekend stay, but most of the time the dogs just live with us full time until they graduate. And the reason behind this isn't just to learn the sit stay and the task work, and it's about bonding. We want these dogs to be incredibly bonded and dialed in and focused on their handlers, and we want our handlers to be incredibly well prepared, not just command-based. We give them the rules and laws of service dogs in California, nationwide, how to travel with their dog. We educate them on animal care, putting booties on, hydration, making sure that they're getting what they need. They have to do health checks daily between their sessions. Everything is it's school. It's actually school for the handlers. And
is there points where, the veterans even get in, or the handlers, or do they get in and say like, this is too much for me? And it's like, we kind of have to back out of the program or something.
It's like rare.
We've had dedicated,
we make it really clear on the front end about the commitment. So 98% of people have made it through, but we've definitely had a couple people that a life incident or something that's happened during the process has altered their ability to continue.
Right.
But we make it really clear it's a big commitment. And that's why we say, you guys know nothing's free in life. Yeah. We're donating these dogs, but they're giving of their time, their gas money, everything that they're doing is they're dedicating to this animal. To see someone dedicate once or twice a week to come up and meet with us and train with us for 6 months, that person needs this animal,
right?
And that they are dedicated through and through. That becomes their best friend, and they will do anything for that dog. And so, imagine doing something on your own time to benefit yourself.
That's not forced at all,
right? To benefit yourself in mental health, or they're not getting a paycheck for showing up. They're getting a trained dog. But they're showing up, man. We've had a guy drive from Simi Valley, 3 hours each way, 6-hour round trip every week to get a service dog, and he graduated last year.
That's so amazing.
And what's your success rate?
In what sense? Because
I guess you're
so 100%. Right. When you really look at it.
No, I mean like pairing up, dogs and veterans in a sense. Is there dogs that obviously get 12 months down the road, and it's like, what, they're not going to make it as a service dog in that matter, and they
on the dog side,
go somewhere to be a friend, but
we're above 80%. We hover between 80 and 85% success rate from adoption to graduation. So that means it's very high. It means about 15-20% of the dogs that come in are career changed. And we use that term instead of failure because these dogs are still out of the shelter. They still have a baseline training. We know a lot about them. And then we place them as either emotional support dogs, not full working service dogs or pet dogs if they're not a good emotional support
kind of
dog.
what we talked about earlier, and almost having your own shelter in a way. Obviously those ones still go to someone good. And
yeah, it's a rescue in that sense where we're still driving. Now, our emotional support dogs get placed in most cases with veterans in need. Our pet dogs, we're looking to place them with active duty or veterans or even families that have lost someone in service. Those Gold Star families where, a husband or wife that's lost someone overseas and they need
That's why I say
animal.
it's 100% success.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's
may
a
not
win
be
all the way
the
around.
direct channel that they started on or direct path, but down the road,
And we've had to retire dogs, and we've had a dog come back to the program because things weren't working out for that pair or that team. It's life. Things happen. We're there. We're always there for the animal and the veteran. And we go beyond. It's not just we cover a lot. And we talk a lot about the dog rescue, the dog training, the veteran, and the service dog side. But our team, we're a family.
Right.
We become a support mechanism for our applicants and later our family, our extended family, all of the people that go through our program. We have a mental health liaison that's a licensed clinical social worker that does one-on-one counseling sessions with our applicants and graduates. We have our Department of Veterans Services. We've got our management team and our training team. I mean, our manager, Nikki, would drop anything and everything in her life to help a veteran in need or a dog in need. And that goes for everyone on the team. So we've got this comprehensive support team. And when we say we answer the call, we answer the call. We really make sure that through and through, even if you're a year out and you call us and you need help, I mean, some of us get text messages or calls at midnight and it's a question about the dog or it's something about life. We're there.
What I wanted to know.
We're there.
Do you hear from the veterans very often? Is it something when they leave, or do you still keep in contact with them? Do you do visits for the first 6 months after? Is there something that kind of still keeps you guys linked?
These are great questions, by the way.
That's why he's sitting here.
Yeah.
I'm just the guy that talks a lot of shit. He's the one with the questions.
Not only are they good questions, but it becomes like really functional, usable content because of the way we're having this discussion. But yes, we have mandatory follow-up. So after graduation, they have to do a lesson at 1 week, at 4 weeks, at 3 months, at 6 months, at 12 months. Every dog has to be retested every 2 years. And yes, those are mandatory.
Those are things you just wouldn't think. It's like, hey, you're pairing up a dog with a veteran.
It's important.
Off they go, and hey, guys, see you later.
They need maintenance. They need continued education. They need support. They need help, right?
You mean you got to change the oil on your car?
Yes, you do. You got to show up. And so
that's
these are
why
things.
it blew up.
But here's the cool part. I mentioned the mandatory piece because that's our job. But what's different is beyond the mandatory follow-up, most of these men and women maintain contact. They volunteer with us. We've hired 6 of them. So now we're creating jobs for veterans, which is kind of crazy.
That's awesome too.
And so it goes beyond just mandatory. Yes. Yeah, we've helped. Yeah, we've helped. We've definitely served more men based on the number of applicants. Right. But we have lady graduates that are incredible and in need of this service just as much.
Because I think that's kind of a stigma too.
No, please apply to those listening, and they are in need of a service dog. If you've served, you're post 9/11, OEF, OIF veteran. Yeah. There's a need for everyone that's served. At the end of the day, when we look at what this program is, I think it's easy to think about service dog, but it's not. It's a service organization that's directly helping the veteran community, the families of those veterans, so the trickle down to the husbands, wives, the children, the friends, the neighbors, and it's also twofold. It's helping these dogs. And when we removed Eddie from the shelter, not only did we give him that amazing life and that opportunity, we opened up a kennel for the next Eddie.
I knew that was coming.
Yeah.
We literally created a spot. And you guys, I don't know if you know these statistics. In 2018, 670,000 dogs, not animals, dogs, were euthanized in our nation.
Wow.
And why? Space, medical, and behavioral.
Sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
you're
the
good.
day we went, that it was kind of frustrating on your part and ours, where you walk into one of the places and they had empty kennels, and it's like,
it is. And there's
like, why aren't those things being filled immediately?
right. it's a complex.
That's probably another podcast.
It is, but basically, by Friday, those kennels are full. They empty through the weekend and they fill them back up. But nonetheless, there's jurisdiction and there's certain things that we won't get into. But
it was also kind of cool that us being at one of our employees actually ended up getting a dog.
That's right.
Actually,
two. Yeah. So it's 3 dogs that one day.
Yes, I mean literally,
and that's never happened, by the way, with any other organization.
Within an hour, the employees were over.
And I'm starting to wonder, should we? At one point, I was thinking because they literally, while we went to the other kennel, they went to the previous one and they got their 2 dogs.
Yeah.
And they were on our clock. So I said, I told them when we got back, you guys should go. Oh, we already went. Yeah, what do you mean you already went?
Yeah.
We already went. We got the dogs. So, I mean, literally.
Yeah. You're paying people to go rescue animals.
Within an hour of us. Yeah. So we have another effect there too.
No, I mean, 3 dogs in one. You guys have had a huge, profound effect. So, and it continues.
It's funny how that works. And
those questions they're really important to answer those details. We maintain relationships and contact with all of our graduates because we need to and because we have to, but most of them do it because they want to.
Right.
They come check in. And
that's what I was wondering.
Hey, how are you? What can I do? I mean, you've seen a lot of these guys and gals on the news. They're volunteering their time to share their vulnerable story. Why? Because they know it'll help one of their brothers or sisters, a fellow veteran in need. They want to be able to give the same gift to someone else in need that they've received. And it's just so selfless. I mean,
and sometimes these people don't, like, the hardest thing in their life is to continue to talk about what it is that's brought them to this position. So you look at that and understand the strength that it's taken them to come out. Not only that they may not be a person that speaks in public, but they're so strong about it that they're willing to put that thing aside to be able to tell people so that it does continue that effect and
relive it. Every time they tell their story, they have to relive the story. It's exhausting. So, kudos to all of our graduates that have stepped up to share their story. And, I told you our Department of Veteran Services Director, Vic Martin, one of our graduates, does it more than anyone. And it's because he's so incredibly invested in helping others in need. But we've had other graduates that they're newly graduated. We never force this on anybody. We would never say, do this or else. We just say, here's an opportunity.
Right.
It will help. Are you open to it? And most of the time they're like, I'm terrified of being on camera. I don't want to share my story, but it's going to save lives. So I'm in.
That's what that's exactly what I'm saying. It's just amazing that you're able to continue that and pull that out of people. So I guess, the way I can kind of sum this up is, and really on the Shelter to Soldier and the partnership that we are so happy to be a part of, is when you really look at this, it's so easy to understand and simple, but so much more than just that. And that's the fact that what Shelter to Soldier does is they take an Army vet, or military, or anything.
All branches,
and that are really in need. And then you go to a shelter and you take a dog. Doesn't matter what size. There are some restrictions as far as how you vet your dogs, but you take that dog that could be part of that 600,000 plus euthanized. That to a person and a dog that kind of lost hope in a lot of ways.
Yep.
And you bring that together to just what now becomes an amazing story for the help of a vet and a dog. I mean, you take these two and you bring them together where they, at one point they've lost a lot of hope, and now they're together to finish off certain stages of their lives.
Get them through certain stages of
getting them through, yes, and helping each other, and really just it's an amazing thing. And to say that that's what you do, it's got to be, at some point you've got to pat yourself on the back and your team.
Yeah, it's a little humbling,
and everything. So I know, because you don't get it, and a lot of times for Cody and I, like, we don't stop long enough to really, as they say, smell the roses. But I think this is what's important, to understand outside of cannabis and everything else, is really what what it is that Graham and what your wife have done for other people, you will never understand that. As much as you want to try to wrap your head around it, like, you won't get that because you're so driven to get more into this that you're not ever going to see it. So I want to say, you know, thank you on our part. You know, we aren't active and did not participate, and we don't have this, oh, we didn't, so we have to do this. It's really just, it's something that we really have a desire and a heart in, as you do. So to share that is like, it's incredible. And so I think on our part, you know, I want to say thank you for allowing us to be a part of what you do. And we are looking forward to like so many more years and so much more involvement in this. So once again, you know, thank you on that level. And
I kind of want to bring up too, you know, how can other people help? How can the public help, you know, Shelter the Soldier?
Yeah.
How can they be part of this stuff? You know, you see this and it's like, okay, you know, how can I sit on my couch and still be a part without being a part? You know, and
yeah, you know,
it shouldn't just be shut off to businesses and vets and all this stuff. You know, there's thousands and thousands of people that do donate that $1 when they buy their dog food.
You're spot on, power and numbers, you know, and that was another exciting piece.
Do you have areas you can go donate? Do you
Absolutely.
Is there spots? You know, it's not a big donation call. I just want to know, like, if there's someone sitting there that wants to visit your website or be part of that in any way, you know, how could someone do that?
Yeah, so let's look at two quick things. 1,800 dogs a day on average are euthanized in our nation.
it's freaking amazing.
And on average, every day, an estimated 16 to 17 veterans commit suicide every single day. It was over 6,800 United States veterans in 2018 took their lives. That's the statistic, guys. How those out there, can make an impact, visit shelter2soldier.org. You can click the donate button. When you donate, whether it's $1, $5, $10, there's a check box. It says reoccurring. If you click that button and you make a $5 donation once a month or a $1, $12 a year, imagine if we got 500,000 people donating $1 each a month. It's $12 a year, per person, right? So shelter2soldier.org. Check it out.
I know you keep looking at the monitor. Don't worry. When this airs, all of this is going to be. We're going to blast. That part of it for sure.
It's just one of those things.
Everyone spent money in worse ways.
Everybody has the ability to help, whether it's us or another foundation you believe in. Just take action and make change.
Just say it. Say the name to someone.
Yeah, share it.
You don't have to spend $1. Go say the name to 5 people.
Yeah, share it on social media. Tell a friend. Tell a neighbor. Just do what you can to help. This is a massive problem that our nation is facing. The number of veterans we've lost to suicide far trumps those lost in battle in the line of service. And guys, together we've got to do this. We've got to step up and we've got to help these dogs. We've got to help these veterans. And I'll say, Platinum Vape and React Foundation together with Shelter the Soldier is saving lives 2 at a time.
And that's why this right here is just as important in the piece of this puzzle to continue the relationship, because donating to the React Foundation, this is one, the veteran support, which is what we're talking about in this way too, helps us to be able to bring this back and get more dogs.
And it's not even a donation. You go buy the product you're already buying.
You're literally donating right then.
You're actually getting it.
Yeah, you're not paying
it's not
anymore.
A donation.
Yeah, you're not paying
We'll do the donating. All you have to do is just go to
same price as the other products sitting next to it. That's what we wanted to be part of. We didn't want to be like, oh, we're going to raise the price on this and then donate that money. No, you're buying the same exact thing. And you get to feel a little bit better about it.
That's what I was saying earlier. Someone's already using it.
Even if you never have or you don't believe it is, you will feel so much better when you give, even just a little bit, no matter how you do it.
Yeah.
But this gives you the opportunity to purchase it. You still get something, and then we'll do the donation side on the back, and you feel good about it.
Oh.
So that's where we're at. I think unless there's something else, I think we've hit the end of this one, but at the beginning of where this is really going to go, I think a lot of people are going to want to see more of what's happening here. So once again, thank you to Graham at Shelter to Soldier and everybody else behind you and your team, because I can vouch that as Platinum Vape is, you're nothing without the people behind you.
100%. It takes a village.
You just happen to be like us, where you're standing in front and flying that plane, driving the boat,
Yep.
driving the car, however you want to look at it. But, once again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. We're excited, and we'll go through all the other stuff. Like, subscribe on YouTube, and follow us at every place that you can. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for the support.